Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash, Barakata. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity. May you brothers endure until the end. This is Brother Raya with another video just to show that we're at the door, Akim. We're almost at the end of this final captivity and into our eternal rulership, because if you've been keeping your eyes in these in the news and in these scriptures, you can see these major prophecies are starting to come to their fulfillment, which is the reason we should be pushing this word that much harder. And the article I'll be using is on ZeroHedge.com, and the title reads, Northcom Commander, the U.S. homeland is no longer a sanctuary, and the United States, also known in the scriptures as the virgin daughter of Babylon or Babylon the Great, is no longer a sanctuary, because during World War III, the U.S.'s adversaries as well as its allies are going to shoot their nuclear missiles onto this place, destroying it from sea to shining sea and turning it into that biblical lake of fire. And it reads, Air Force General Terrence O'Shaughnessy ended a speech at the 140th National Guard Association Conference in New Orleans this weekend with an ominous warning that the era of great power competition doesn't leave the United States or Babylon the Great's mainland uncontested. The U.S. homeland is no longer a sanctuary, according to the four-star general. This brings me to my first precept in Revelation chapter 18. I'm going to start at verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Verse 2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird, because the United States is the most wicked place on the planet Earth. If you follow the paper trail of all the misery that's happening on the planet right now, it'll lead back to the United States. Some examples being homosexuality, transgenderism, feminism, lesbianism, GMOs getting pushed on a mass scale, chemtrails, pollution getting put into the water, proxy wars being fought, what have you. Just that general do as thou wilt Aleister Crowley spirit. That's why this place needs to go. Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not her plagues. And the only people it's speaking to right now is the elect of the children of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the 144,000 and righteous 1/3, which the 144,000 are a part of, because they're the only Israelites out there that have heard this new song and are hearkening back unto the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. And it's not speaking of literally leaving Babylon, it's speaking of fleeing the idolatry or philosophies of Babylon, such as democracy or what have you. Because if it's meant for you to die in these coming calamities, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is going to enact that judgment on you no matter where you go. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. And Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is starting to visit this place for her iniquities, as we're seeing with the allies of the United States and its enemies, or just all the heathens in general who have become drunk off the wines of Babylon, such as a democracy, again, for instance, are starting to turn against Babylon. You're seeing nations have their own little trade wars against the United States. People who are supposed to be the allies of the United States are starting to turn against the United States, such as Turkey or India buying weapons from Russia, or you even have France and Germany talking about finding ways to circumvent the U.S. dollar and eventually abandon it. And this is all going to culminate in all these other kingdoms shooting their missiles onto Babylon the Great. Verse 6, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Because not only are you Edomites or you so-called white people going to get it bad on this side, but in the kingdom, The Israelites, which are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are going to render unto you double as to what you rendered unto us during our captivity, but we're going to do it all in righteousness. So you Edomites have nothing to look forward to. You're going to be happy once that 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery is over and you're eradicated from the face of the earth. That'll be rest for you. Verse 7. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. And you American Edomites honestly believe that this kingdom's never going to fall, even though in the past every empire that has gotten to the point to where you're at right now has collapsed. But y'all are going to learn soon enough. Y'all are already starting to feel the torments of Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, who's starting to put these curses that were on us unto you. Verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when she shall see the smoke, when they shall see the smoke of her burning. That's the only thing these heathens are going to miss when America or Babylon the Great is destroyed, is all that money they've made off of Babylon. Because if you ask these heathens, they'll say, oh yeah, just go to America, make your money, and get the hell out of there. Don't think about finding a wife or starting a family there. It's all vanity. Verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. So when those nuclear missiles, as well as those so-called laser beams from the chariot of Yahushua and the angels start hitting this place, it's going to be a good hour of destruction. And it's be beautiful, if Yahweh willing, I'm of that number and on that chariot, to watch you Edomites, you heathens, and you 2/3 get that work and get paid back for the wickedness you've committed in this life. According to the Military Times, O'Shaughnessy says that peer-level adversaries are probing U.S. defenses in multiple domains, and that the continental United States is well within their sights. Salak. We're in a changing security environment, O'Shaughnessy said. We used to think about the sanctuary we had with oceans and friendly countries to our north and south, but that's changing with adversaries that are actually able to reach out and touch us now. And what do we just read in Revelation 18? Revelation 18:7. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Oh, we have 2 oceans protecting us, and we have our allies to the north and the south. O'Shaughnessy's concerns fall right in line with Defense Secretary Jim Mattis's new National Defense Strategy. This strategy just so happens to prioritize peer-level adversaries as greater threats than lower-end insurgent forces like those seen in Iraq and Afghanistan over the past decade. According to O'Shaughnessy and Mattis, those peer-level foes are Russia and China. That breaks down simply. The U.S. is no longer immune to attacks from Russia or China, as well as the U.S.'s allies, which are going to turn against the U.S. and shoot their missiles on this place as well. And this brings me to Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come again Babylon, or the United States, an assembly of great nations from the north country. That north country is speaking of Russia, and that assembly of great nations is speaking of China, Turkey, Iran, North Korea, and even allies of the U.S. such as Japan, South Korea, the UK, France, and Germany, which are going to eventually turn against the U.S., and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And those arrows are speaking of those nuclear missiles, which are symbolically referred to in the scriptures as arrows or flying swords or glittering swords or what have you. I've jumped down to verse 13. Because of the wrath of Yahweh it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly destroyed. Every one that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. And after those nuclear missiles and so-called laser beams turn this place into that lake of fire, after that all cools down, this is going to be Babylon the Great, or the United States, is going to be a desert wasteland. The only thing that's going to inhabit it are desert creatures. No man's ever going to set his foot on this place. And Babylon the Great is just going to stand as a memorial to the other nations as to what a wicked rulership looks like and how not to rule the world. Verse 14, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, or again those nuclear missiles, for she hath sinned against Yahweh. According to the Daily Wire, O'Shaughnessy asserted, we're in a changing security environment. We used to think about the sanctuary we had with oceans and friendly countries to our north and south, but that's changing with adversaries that are actually able to reach out and touch us now. That assembly of great nations from the North Country, we have to think about our defense in different ways than we have in the past. That means we need to fundamentally rethink when we say homeland defense, how we're going to do that against a peer competitor. A good example is the new AESA radars we're trying to put in the F-16s, and we're making progress. This was a reference to Northrop Grumman's APG-83 Scalable Agile Beam Radar when the Air Force chose to upgrade 72 Air National Guard F-16 Falcons in 2017. The APG-83 helps the F-16 to detect, track, and identify more targets faster and at longer ranges. Northrop Grumman also stated the radar is capable of operating in hostile electronic environments, and none of this is going to matter because once those nuclear missiles start flying, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is going to put it on the put their spirit on the missiles to not miss their target, and they're also going to put their spirit on these radar systems and anti-missile defense systems to fail and not stop these missiles from hitting Babylon. And this brings me to my next precept in Joel chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there had not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. And that great people and strong is speaking of those nuclear missiles, which have not existed until recently and won't exist after the true children of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, get back in that power seat, because we're going to destroy these weapons of the heathens. Verse 3, a fire devoureth before them, those nuclear warheads, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. So the land is as the Garden of Eden, or pristine before those new warheads hit, and after it, a desolate wilderness, a nuclear desolate wilderness. I'm going to jump down to verse 7. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Because as I said earlier, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is going to put their spirit on these missiles to hit their targets and not miss without a hitch. Verse 8, neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. And that sword is speaking of, as we just read, those radar systems on the F-16s, as well as those anti-missile defense systems. Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is going to put their spirit on those systems to fail, so those missiles are allowed to hit their targets. And also, not only are those missiles from America's enemies as well as allies going to hit their targets, but the majority of America's missiles that they shoot in retaliation are going to fail, because Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is going to put his spirit on them to fail. Which brings me to Psalms chapter 58, verse 6. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Yahweh, and those teeth are speaking of the weapons of the United States. And when a lion doesn't have any teeth, it's basically been neutered. Its main means of attack has been taken away, which is what's going to happen to those nuclear